Hey, good people, this is your NI Dom back with another YouTube reflection. And this is a personal journal for contemplative people looking to think, grow, and have impact in the world. So, hey, here to do a part six to a series that I'm doing for a podcast called Something is Wrong, season 14, where they're talking about um, this guy that I'm calling Tom, who was physically, financially, sexually, emotionally, psychologically abusive to dozens of women, and those women found their way to each other, and they did a series about it. And so I've been consuming that series, like binging on it, and there are 12 episodes in that series, I believe, or 11 or 12. I think it's 11. And well, anyway, it's one of them, and I just finished season 9, excuse me, episode 9. And in that and I have some really strong emotions about it, and so I'm here doing a series, which really wasn't supposed to be a series, but because I'm not doing the podcast right now, um if I was doing a podcast I would have done a 90-minute reflection on this, but because I'm not doing a podcast, I'm doing it on YouTube, and now it's being broken up into smaller parts. Okay, so I think the part 5 that I just finished was about really calling into question when um, racial minorities are doing justice work. What do other groups who are not racial minorities do when they're trying to be in partnership and they're trying to support the cause for justice around racial justice? What does racial justice look like when it gets difficult? Is the real question. Like it's wonderful when you do racial justice work and you are ally when it's easy, but how do you show up as an ally when it's uncomfortable for you as the ally? When there's something that is uncomfortable for you, how do you show up? How do you remain an ally when you're uncomfortable as an ally? Is really what I was trying to get at in part 5. But I was emotional about it. So I'm here to continue picking up. I'm going to pick up from there, okay? But if you're new to this project, this is a personal journal where I process my inner and my outer worlds. I do so by using personality theory, the two theories I use the most. The Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram, pushing those two systems together, I identify as an INTJ8. I have other disclaimers that I take out in the YouTube reflection, but if you want to know all of my disclaimers, go to my podcast, Your NIDOM, or go to my website, yournidom.wordpress.com. It's interesting, though, in the series, I'm not talking a lot about um, Myers-Briggs personality theory. I think I mentioned cognitive functions in part 1, but I haven't really touched it since then. But that's the overall flair or flavor for this project. I do reflections by using personality theory. Okay. So at this point, I've not identified a number of things that I have a problem with. Um, they are centering. I didn't even say this. They are centering this black-owned business in a way that I think is harmful and unfair and honestly dishonest. Now, the only caveat is that I have to go back and do my research is if they change the name of this black-owned business and the owner. Because if they change the name of the owner and the black and the name of the business, it takes the offense away by 50%. It doesn't take it all the way away, but it significantly reduces the offense, the harm that I experienced listening to that story, listening to that part of the story. Okay. So I want to make room for the fact that they possibly did not use this man's real name or his business name. Okay. I did an essay on this under my government name, and I wrote an essay about when you are when you're a black person, and I think this is for black men and black women, gay or straight, able or disabled. I think this is just in general, when you're a black person and you meet an ally, a racial ally, we're hungry for that. We're hungry for that allyship, and we feel supported. And when we're in that space, we let our guards down in a way that we would not if we weren't among allies. See, when we're not among allies, there's a level of guardedness, there's a level of vigilance, there's a level of preemptiveness that we do. But when we're in a space with an ally, we don't usually carry that guardedness, defensiveness, preemptiveness at the same level. We relax a little bit because we're in a quote unquote a safe space. All right. So then when that safe space, when you start feeling a jab in that safe space, and then you can't really put your finger on it, like, damn, I think I just got punched. But by my ally. But my ally's got this smile and is using all of these words that tell me, no, I'm still with you. But something feels off. As the podcast episode said, something was wrong. And that's what is partially bothering me. Because here these women were in this abusive situation, not all physical, because physical abuse is easier to measure. Financial abuse is easier to measure, but psychological abuse and emotional abuse, that's harder. And then when a lot of these women would take their stories to the courts and they didn't get any support. And then it's like a double whammy. So I want, if any of those women listen to me right now, I want you to understand, even if you don't agree with me, I hope you can understand that that's exactly how listening to that episode felt. Because there is no reason your allyship felt like it was conditional or limited. I'm only going to be an ally for 3 minutes. And then when my needs are important, allyship stops. And that's your prerogative as an ally, but it feels, as a person who needs the support of allies, it feels shitty. And I want to say shame on you for doing that. Now, this is, if anybody who's following this project, following my project in general, just say, you know what, yo, and I down, that's just a podcast. Take your panties out your butt, right? It's just a podcast. Get over it. And I will, right? All of it could be made up. That's one of the things I said. You getting upset, none of this might be real. And that's possible. But if it is real, and I've been invested in this lady's content, respecting her, giving her the benefit of the doubt, it feels pretty shitty that their needs overrode the needs of that company who was trying to do justice work for. Okay, so that was bothering me. Let me tell you this other thing that bothered me. Right, they got him on recording, the owner, and he was groveling, in my opinion, groveling for these people's forgiveness. And you know when somebody is groveling because he would talk for about at least 15 minutes. Never did that host, Tiffany, jump in that call while he was talking for 15 minutes. Never showed any ounce of compassion. Any other time when other people tell their story, she does this really remarkable thing. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. I'm so sorry. That's what she said. Oh, I can imagine that had to be really hurtful. And I'm not saying, I mean, I just don't understand what they did, what this company did that was so egregious. It was gross. So she let that man talk for 15 minutes, and he was all but begging for their forgiveness. Now, was he wrong? Probably. I would imagine there's probably some guilt there. I would just imagine it, just because business sometimes hijack. And he said it. He said, we're a new company. He didn't say this, but I could tell you that you're a new company, you're black owned, and you're black owned trying to fight for black justice. You don't have the same resources. But he did say, he said, we never countered anything like this. So they didn't respond. He did not respond to the liking of those women, and they went for the fucking jugular, in my opinion. And he talked for 15 minutes. He rambled. He graveled, trying to get compassion and understanding. And he never fucking got it in that recording. Now, whatever happened after the recording, I can't speak to. But I can tell you as a listener, as a black woman, a business owner, listening to that, I was suffering. I wanted to say, don't beg. Don't beg for their fucking forgiveness. Yes, be accountable, apologize, explain, but you should have not talked for 15 fucking minutes. Excuse my language, y'all. You should not be talking for 15 fucking minutes trying to get trying to get somebody's understanding that clearly they're not trying to provide it for it to you. And one of the things I was wondering, like, as I was listening to that whole series, season 14, and I'm not gonna lie, and I said this in part one and two, there are my emotionality was not captured in that series. Like, there's some things about the emotionality of those women I could not fully relate to. But just because I couldn't fully relate to it, I didn't negate it. I don't think I did. I just couldn't relate to it. Some of the women in that series I could let me put it differently. Some of them I could relate to because they said, "I'm sad that it took me so long to get it." Like the one girl, I think her name is Melissa, and she said her therapist had to say, "Yo, why are you still talking to him?" Because I have been screaming that the whole time. Like, you keep having these moments, and then you're like, "I'm done," and then you keep talking to him. I don't understand why you're doing that. And I was so happy when she said her therapist gave her analogy. You keep, I don't know if it was like you keep putting your hand in the, you keep getting your hand bit. At some point, you got to take ownership. Now you're getting bit. You knew that dog was in that kennel and he was going to bite you. You knew it. So at some point, you getting bit is your responsibility. And I love that it just made sense now because I was like, why is Tiffany letting these women come on the show and not have any ownership? Like what? And that's a whole separate conversation, you know, because I've had some real conflict with women about this. Like we all become conscious at different points. We do, and we all have different levels of tolerance for pain. And so my tolerance and my level of consciousness, it's not fair for me to judge yours through my lens. I fully get that. But I think I needed to hear sometimes those women take ownership of like, yo, this was my part in it. And you did hear some of them do that. But in the meantime, right? In the meantime of them, let me see, look at the now because I know I'm running out of time. Okay. In the meantime, you hear um Tiffany said, it wasn't your fault. Like, so this man had been duping these women for years. And even after he was discovered as fooling them, many of them, not all of them, many of them stayed in relationship with him for different reasons, many of them valid. So I'm not mad about that. But I'm not understanding why they couldn't understand that Tom could have also duped this black business owner who's under resourced and hungry. I know what it's like. Somebody's bringing a talent, and Tom is gifted communicator, a gifted manipulator. Why couldn't they give that black business owner the same level of grace that they were giving those women until it just felt unfair. It just felt unfair, felt duplicitous, gross, gross. I got one more thing that I want to say about this, and I'm gonna end this series. It's just gross, you guys. Anyway, if this reflection has any value for you, please give it a hard thumbs up, like, or a star. If this conversation about allyship, around the racial aspect of allyship, about accountability, about grace and discovery, like who's afforded the time to who can be duped and who can't be duped, who's giving grace, who's not giving grace. If any of that relates to a conversation you've had in the world, please take this link and share it with those participants, you guys. Please find me on my website if you have any questions or concerns. YourAntiDom.wordpress.com. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. I'm coming back for one more reflection. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you until I come back. Be well. Bye.